Yo, let's talk about a specific type of character, the Blood Knight. The warrior who lives for the fight. The one who smiles when they get stabbed. The one who gets bored if the battle isn't a life or death struggle. In the Shonen Hall of Fame, there's one character that sits on the throne of that archetype. KENPACHI Zaraki. A man who is less of a soul reaper and more of a walking natural disaster with a sword. We love him for it. He's pure, unfiltered chaos. But what happens when a character like that, a force of nature built on the love of battle, comes face to face with his own reflection in a cracked and twisted mirror? That's Nnoitra Gyouga, an espada with the hardest skin, a weapon the size of a telephone pole, and a mindset just as savage as KENPACHI's. But where KENPACHI fights to feel the thrill of battle, Nnoitra fights because he's desperate for the release of death. This wasn't just a fight. This was a therapy session with giant blades, a philosophical cage match between two monsters to answer one question. When you live only for battle, what is the point? Is it to live for the next fight, or to find a glorious end in this one? So, let's set the scene. We're deep in Hucho's Mundo, Aizen's Fortress of Las Noches. Ichigo has just barely survived his fight with Grimmjow, but now he's facing down the fifth espada, Nnoitra, and he is getting absolutely washed. He's exhausted, injured, and completely outclassed. Just as Nnoitra's subordinate, Tesla, is about to deliver the final blow, a sandstorm kicks up, and out walks the devil himself. KENPACHI Zaraki has arrived, and he's looking for a good time. But the opponent he's found is more than just another strong guy. Nnoitra is a walking, talking bundle of rage and complexes. His official aspect of death is despair, and that's the key to his whole character. He's in a constant state of despair because he's obsessed with being the strongest, but he knows deep down that there's always someone stronger. This created a deep-seated inferiority complex that manifested in some truly ugly ways. His infamous misogyny, his hatred for Neliel, being a female espada ranked higher than him. That was just the surface level trash talk. The real issue was that Nell pitied him. She saw him as a beast acting on instinct, not a true warrior, and refused to kill him because of it. To Nnoitra, that pity was worse than death. He didn't want mercy. He wanted to be acknowledged as an equal on the battlefield. And if he couldn't be the strongest, he wanted to die a warrior's death at the hands of someone who was. He is the tragic, ugly side of the Blood Knight trope. Unhinged, cruel, and fighting not for joy, but out of suicidal nihilism. And then you have KENPACHI. He's the complete opposite. He also lives for the battle, but he fights to feel alive. His battle with Ichigo fundamentally changed him. It wasn't just a good fight, it was an awakening. It reminded him of the joy of facing a true challenge, and it lit a fire under him to get even stronger. He's still the same beast, a guy who handicaps himself with a power-eating eye patch and bells in his hair just to make the fight last longer. But now he has a benchmark. He has a goal to one day fight Ichigo again. KENPACHI fights to live, to improve, to find that next great high. He is the positive, life-affirming side of the Blood Knight. So, when these two finally meet, it's a perfect storm. The man who wants to die a warrior's death has just met the man who defines his entire existence by being a warrior. It's everything Nnoitra ever wanted, and it's going to be his undoing. The fight kicks off, and right away, we have a problem. KENPACHI, the man who can cut literally anything, swings a sword and it bounces right off Nnoitra's skin. Nnoitra boasts that he is the strongest Hiedo, or spiritual armor, of all the espada. And for a moment, it looks like he's right. KENPACHI is getting frustrated. He's swinging with all his might, and he can't even draw blood. This is a massive moment. We've never seen KENPACHI struggle like this. He's always been the one with the overwhelming power. Now, he's the one who can't break through. But this is KENPACHI Zaraki we're talking about. Getting pushed into a corner is his happy place. He takes off the eye patch. The limiter is gone. And with the master surge of Reiatsu, he does it. He cuts Nnoitra deep. For the first time, Nnoitra feels the fear of being wounded by this monster. But the fight is far from over. Nnoitra pushed to the limit, decides to release his Zanpakuto. His resurrection, Santa Terasa, turns him into a six-armed praying mantis of death. And that symbolism is layered as hell. In the real world, female praying mantises often devour males after mating. Nnoitra, a character defined by his hatred of a stronger female, transforms into the very creature that embodies that dynamic. It's a visual representation of his own despair and his death wish. With six arms, Nnoitra completely overwhelms KENPACHI. He's blocking, he's slashing, he's stabbing from every angle. KENPACHI, all his power is getting diced up. He's impaled, bleeding from dozens of wounds, and for the first time since his fight with Ichigo, KENPACHI Zaraki is on the verge of death. As KENPACHI lies on the ground bleeding out, he starts to think. And for a guy like KENPACHI, thinking is a dangerous thing. He always relied on pure instinct, pure power. But that's not working here. He needs something more. He remembers something he was forced to learn when he first became a captain. Something he hated because it felt like putting a leash on his power. Kendo, the art of swordsmanship. And he remembers the most basic fundamental lesson of all. He grabs his Zanpakuto with both hands. This is a monumental moment for him. KENPACHI has always fought one-handed as another self-imposed handicap to make fights more fun. But using two hands, he's admitting something he's never has before. To win this fight, I need to be stronger. I need to use a technique. He's breaking his own rules. Not just for the thrill, but for survival. He's evolving. He looks at Nnoitra and delivers one of his coldest lines in the series. It's been a while since I've tried this, but it's time for some kendo. A sword is much more powerful when you swing it with both hands instead of just one. Nnoitra scoffs. What the hell are you babbling about? Everyone knows that. And KENPACHI just grins. Of course they do. One swing, that's all it takes. One clean, two-handed strike that cuts through Nnoitra's Hirero, his weapons, and his body. The fight is over. KENPACHI's line wasn't just a taunt. It was a final judgment on Nnoitra's entire philosophy. Nnoitra, with his six arms, was holding six weapons, with one hand each. He had more weapons, but he never had more commitment. KENPACHI two-handed grip symbolized his total focus on a single goal, winning and living. Nnoitra's scattered approach was a reflection of his own despair, a desperate, unfocused lashing out, hoping one of his attacks would grant him the death he craved. Even in the end, Nnoitra can't let go of his pride. He refuses to accept KENPACHI's mercy, demanding a warrior's death, and KENPACHI, respecting the code of battle, grants him his wish. Nnoitra dies on his feet, getting the end he always wanted. But it's a hollow victory. He never surpassed Nell. He never found salvation. He just found an end to his despair. KENPACHI, on the other hand, walks away, having broken another one of his own shackles, one step closer to unlocking his true monstrous potential. The battle between KENPACHI and Nnoitra is a masterclass in character-driven conflict. On the surface, it's just two psychos trying to kill each other. But underneath, it's a story about why we fight. KENPACHI is the embodiment of the will to live through combat, to constantly seek new heights and new thrills. Nnoitra is the embodiment of the despair that comes from that same lifestyle. The emptiness of realizing that there's always a bigger fish and the subsequent desire for it all to just end. This fight was a crucial turning point for KENPACHI. It forced him to acknowledge that pure instinct isn't always enough. That sometimes to reach the next level, you have to learn the fundamentals. It was a lesson that would be vital for his eventual confrontation with Unohana and his awakening of his Shikai and Bankai. He didn't just beat an Espada. He beat a darker version of himself. So what do you think? Is KENPACHI versus Nnoitra one of the most underrated philosophical fights in anime? And more importantly, what other mirror match battles have a deeper thematic meaning? Drop your analysis in the comments below. I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next breakdown.